All right, here we go. All right, man. Look, week 3 is in the books. And so the ITP crew, the In the Pocket podcast crew is in the building. And we're going to get it kicked off, man, and wrap up week 3. Only thing I can say is that rookie's going rookie. And, you know, man, it's
yeah.
Like they say, it's still a week to week league. As evident by my TJ Hawkinson, love that I was given over the weekend.
And I would like to apologize on behalf of the podcast for KJ Osborne performance.
Yeah, man, I played it too.
We obviously was super high.
Man, I played him boldly too. I was like, oh nah, I'm not Jacoby. Nah, you're not gonna get no burn today. And put KJ in there.
He put up something too, did he?
Yeah, he sure did. And New England barely did anything. He still put up numbers.
Dang,
get out of here, man! Terrible. So look, if you guys are listening on the podcast, you probably catch us a little later. But right now, it is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cowboys game is on right now, and they are currently locked in. Looks like it's Cowboys trying to put some points on the board this tonight, and currently it's 20-7 with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter right now. So, but we'll get to that game in a little bit. But man, let's kind of just jump into it, man. And you got a game that you like this weekend that you want to start off with first? If not, I start off with Arizona and Jacksonville.
We can start right there.
All right, cool. So Jacksonville, as predicted, won 31-19 over. Arizona won 31-19 over Jacksonville. Kyler Murray once again over 300 yards passing. Just 19 yards rushing, but once again got a TD, right? He basically is their goal line back. But the surprise was, for me, was James Conner. Ended up with 11 attempts, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Even quarter pass. Yeah, he had two rushing touchdowns. And it was an A.J. Green sighting. 5 receptions on 6 targets with 112 yards. Even Christian Kirk had 7 receptions for 104 yards, and he had 8 targets. So he's still in the mix as usual. Man, anybody that was riding that Rondale Moore wave, they had one of them KJ Osborne type night. Basically 2 targets, 2 receptions. It sound like the KJ Osborne line. 2 receptions, 1 yard. Man, I think for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the only bright spot, it looks like James Robinson has been given the primary running back role, where before it was kind of like more of an even split, but it looks like he's kind of cementing himself as the feature back, because not only did they have 15 attempts on 88 yards, or 15 attempts with 88 yards, 1 TD, but he also has 6 targets and caught all 6 of them for 46 yards. So he definitely looked like he is cementing himself as the feature back, as most people were drafting him as, early on. So, any thoughts from regarding Arizona, Jacksonville?
No, it played out pretty much the way it was scary at the beginning though. Jacksonville jumped out with an early lead, and I was starting to.
I saw that.
Think like, what's happening here? We got another one of these crazy things going on. But of course, Kyler Murray and team got back on track. So yeah, it's pretty much what we expected. Kyler Murray is doing great right now. It's going to be a challenge trying to figure. He got so many options over there. It's going to be a challenge, throughout the year, trying to understand, where those fantasy points going to come. They come from Kyler Murray, but you don't know if it's going to be Kirk, D-Hop. Now you got Connor in the mix, Chase Edmonds. He got a lot of options. So good luck if you're trying to figure out which one is going to be his top option for that week.
Right. See, I was thinking about, it looks like once again, Trevor Lawrence is, he's he's gonna take his lump this year. He's not quite ready for prime time. It looks like still, which I guess kind of to be expected a bit.
Why
And
is
that
Eugene
he's
still starting Trevor
turnover
Lawrence?
prone. I'm not quite sure. I think he's hoping that he has a breakout game at some point in time. And I roster him right now since we got a we got the super flex position, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to maintain his roster spot on my team going forward. And so like you said, Kyler Murray still is doing this thing, and he is. What is he currently ranked right now? Interesting enough, he's out of the top 10, just right behind Derek Carr, and I think he might be maybe at 11 right now. And so, but before we already know everything in Arizona goes through Kyler Murray, and depending on what he's doing, it's crazy that you got your goal line back and your quarterback, in the same position. So it's almost like he's not Cam Newton size, but he's still almost just as effective in and around the goal line. So,
yeah.
All right, next game. Let's get it to Tennessee and Indianapolis. And so this game was probably a little closer than most expected, especially considering that Carson Wentz came into the game with 2 sprained ankles. I'm not sure how you come into the game with 2 sprained ankles.
Right.
And it's 2 bad wheels, but he stayed in there and toughed it out. From Indianapolis standpoint, Nyheim Hines was the only somewhat bright spot, and that he ended up with 16 over 16 points, but that's because he had 54 yards on 5 receptions, and then he did get a rushing TD. They didn't do much on the ground. Michael Pittman, I guess, also good to note was that Michael Pittman Jr. still is the number 1 receiver, so you can kind of count on him getting the bulk of the targets, for that team. And he had 12 targets. Right. Yeah, 6 receptions, 68 yards on 12 targets. From Tennessee standpoint, Derrick Henry, I hate to say he had a pedestrian type game, but considering the Superman effort he put in last week, ended up with 113 yards. I guess the big thing is that he's still getting, monster numbers when it comes to carries.
28 attempts. 28 attempts, man.
and sprinkle in 3 receptions with that.
Right.
I'm not sure how he does it. And so, any idea who Nick Westbrook icon is? He kind of, I'm not sure how to say his name, but he came in and outpaced both Julio Jones and AJ Brown, who ended up going out early in the game. Julio Jones once again is nowhere really to be found with 3 receptions and 47 yards on 4 targets. But any idea or any thoughts on Nick Westbrook at all? In terms of is he viable going forward, or somebody to keep an eye on?
I mean, you got to keep an eye on him just because of AJ Brown. That's one of the reasons why I stayed away from AJ Brown, because I had him last year and he just kind of he easily, whatever is going on with his knees or whatever, I don't know, but he got to take practice off all the time. He always seemed like you don't know if he's gonna be ready for that week. So because you don't know, we don't know how much time he's gonna miss. And this is still a high power offense. You definitely got to keep Westbrook on your radar, and some of those deeper leagues probably even worth a stash.
Right.
But just going back to I didn't get to talk. Jonathan Taylor, man, only 10 attempts. 64 yards. Like this, not what we was expecting from him. So
no, not at all.
This might be like, if you in a season long, might be a buy low. If you can go out there and get a frustrated owner, see if you can give over something cheap to pick him up. Now might be a good time because they don't have much offense. So Taylor is, to me, eventually they're gonna have to work him back in. So
true, definitely. I believe at some point in time, I'm not sure, if it's from a play calling standpoint or the just the way that the offense is being run right now with Carson Wentz, not being 100%. But it's amazing that he's not getting more work during the in each game. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Probably definitely a good buy low candidate. All right, man. Let's get this game out the way. This New York Giants, Atlanta Falcons game. You talking about the battle of bad teams, and I just knew that I could trust the New York Giants to do something. I put them in my daily. Had the stack going with Daniel Jones, and man, they put up 14 points in a losing effort to Atlanta.
Right.
And it's not like Atlanta had a bonanza in the stat sheet. Matt Ryan, he had 2 touchdowns on 243 yards, but other than Cordero Patterson, with his 20 yards on the ground, 82 yards receiving, once again he's the one bright spot on there as well. But Calvin Ridley, I guess the one good thing you can say about him is he still ended up with 11 targets, right? But he had 8 receptions, 61 yards. I'm not even gonna try. Zacchaeus Olamide, Zacchaeus had one of the touchdowns, but that was on 3 receptions, 32 yards. I'm not sure what you can make of that. Once again, Mike Davis, pedestrian, which continues to disappoint. At 12 attempts, 50 yards, 4 receptions, 20 yards. Let me ask you this: what do you think about Kyle Pitts? And that they got this top drafted rookie, and he's at 2 receptions and 25 yards at this point in time.
Yeah, man, you gotta. I mean, yeah. I said it at the beginning. I didn't trust Kyle Pitts. I didn't know it was gonna be this bad though. I thought the offense was gonna have a little bit more spark to it, but I don't see any signs of life right now. I don't know if it's just Julio Jones. I don't know if it's a new coach. But yeah, it's hard to start him right now. I like Everett better than Kyle Pitts. So many other tight ends that I would go with over Pitts right now. So
okay, and on the Giants side of the ball, we got a Saquon Barkley sighting, and that he finished with 51 yards with on the ground, one touchdown, and had 6 receptions for 43 yards. Right, so basically total 94 yards, 6 receptions. So he looked good. He actually looked like he had a little bit of a burst there, and he got more work from an offensive perspective in terms of the number of plays ran and targets. And so I think that's one of the few bright spots that you can take away. Kenny Golladay was supposed to be injured and a game time decision. He still ended up leading the team and receiving yards on 4 receptions, 64 yards on 4 receptions. So I'm not sure what to make it. There's no real bright spot from a receiver standpoint. What's your thoughts on Saquon though? You think that puts him back in the mix to at least be borderline RB1, or you think?
I think so.
I mean, he would have killed.
I mean, but considering the state of the running backs right now, I got him as an RB1. He got 6 receptions, 43 yards, 16 attempts, 51 yards, and a TD. Yeah, I mean, he's the best offensive option on his team, when he's healthy. So, and it looks like he's starting to get that confidence back. So, yeah, I think you got to put him back in that mix.
Okay. I think we got some folks in the chat here. We're gonna get to in a minute. Let's keep running through. New York Jets and Denver Broncos. They're blanked by the Denver Broncos, 26-0. I'm not sure there's anything we need to say about the Jets at all. Teddy Bridgewater once again,
disaster.
Disaster. And I actually picked up Michael Carter, man. With the hopes that he would be able to, give us a little something, a sign or a ray of hope. We're not going. Your man Corey Davis ended up with 10 targets. I'm not sure what that was worth. In this,
it's not. It wasn't worth that much. How you get 10 targets and you barely making double digits? You ain't even making double digit fantasy points in a 4-point PPR league. Ugh,
Right.
and you down the whole time.
The whole game.
Like you the whole
They had a
game
negative
you
game
down.
script the whole
Yeah.
game.
I
That's
mean,
crazy.
you know, I yeah, I feel bad for the rookie quarterback. They got him out there, they just put him in a bad position. And he looks like he's talented, but obviously, the coaches don't know what to do with this guy or with the team in general. So I mean, you talking about going from worse to worser. I know that ain't the word, but I'm saying worser because that's you might as well bring back the other coach that
Right.
they just fired.
The oh man, it's bad, and it's I don't see brighter days ahead on this one.
If your
The
defense is playing the Jets, put them in.
right, right. The so next game up. Let's see, we got. Oh well, before I move that, Melvin Gordon had. It looks like he is. There's still a pretty even split. And the fact that Melvin Gordon had 18, Javonte Williams had 12 carries, but Melvin Gordon seems to be making the most of his carries, and that he had 61 yards on his 18 carries, had the one reception for 21 yards as well. But Javonte Williams also is, at least pacing himself with 29 yards rushing and a TD, as well as the three receptions, 31 yards. But other than that, it's not much to talk about other than the fact that New York Jets, they're terrible right now. All right, so we had the um, Carolina Houston was the Thursday night game, and then we
I
also
think we
had
talked about that one.
yeah, and so let's look at oh high flying Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yeah,
Chargers win that game 30-24, and you know Justin Herbert went off with 4 touchdown passes. Austin Eckler looked good and 50 plus yards rushing and 52 yards receiving on six targets, 6 receptions, 52 yards receiving plus a touchdown grab. And so he looked like he's rounding in the form and what we expected him to be in terms of being a dual threat running back, where you're going to get consistent rushing yards. But the big upside was his ability to get catches out of the backfield, and especially considering who his coach is and how he likes to utilize the backs in the passing game. But man, Mike Williams had a monster effort. He was
man.
out there, Mawson dudes.
If you
With his
drafted Mike Williams, you came up on that one.
man, tell me about it. Good gracious, I've been waiting to
I think he's second highest scoring through 3 weeks.
yeah. Right now he's at well, I'm looking here on a half PPR. He's number one at 29.7.
Oh, okay.
Standard, he is. I look right now. Still got him at 26.2 over Cooper Cup.
I thought Cooper Cup was number one.
I'm looking at PPR. He's still number one. So PPR, Devontae Adams is number two. Standard Cooper Cup is number two, and also half PPR Cup is two. So yeah, right
Oh,
now,
okay.
man, Mike Williams is doing this thing, and and even with the big numbers he posted, Keenan Allen still ended up with the most targeted 13 targets, 50 yards on 8 receptions and a TD. We figured this would be a points bonanza, between the two teams, and I definitely think it lived up to it in terms of getting the passing game from LA. And on Kansas City side, Mahomes had 3 TDs, had 45 yards rushing, and the bright spot is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire ended up with over 100 yards and 1 TD receiving. So, however, he did have a crucial fumble in the game once again. So my question to you is, with this performance from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you think this enough to make you believe that he's on track to he's back on track to produce RB1 numbers, or is this a mirage based on the team he was playing?
You got to show me a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like this is what people want, but you know what I mean. He got to put a string of games together in order for me to believe it. you know. So
Yeah, I'm
it's
in the same
just
boat.
yeah,
Yeah, I said I see when you can put a couple together because you put up some duds, you strung them together.
right,
So
right.
let's see some good ones. From a receiving
Man,
standpoint,
Herbert is gonna be a superstar, man.
it's shaping
That
up to be
dude,
that way, man.
yeah.
He getting busy, and right now I don't see, you know, even when you know the game against Dallas, they basically should have won that game, you know, if it wasn't for a number of different penalties that didn't go their way. And so, man,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he definitely is doing his thing right now. Tariq Hill, that's probably the one disappointment in the game, and that on 7 targets, he had 5 receptions, 56 yards. He also had a fumble as well. But you know, I would venture to say this is, you know, just an aberration. This is one of those games where, you know, he didn't happen to you know, go off, even though
Man,
they did put up points.
I don't know who the I don't normally play matchups with cornerbacks, but Terry McLaurin, uh, Amari Cooper, and now
Tyreek Hill,
Tariq Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Like somebody over there shutting them down. I'm sure I can look up the names, but somebody over. So think about that when next time you're starting receivers, your number one receiver is playing the Chargers. So
That's true. They basically blanking dudes for the most part in
right.
terms of, you know, they expected output. So I think you definitely on to something with that one uh, from that standpoint. So, man, another what I consider to be a not so great game was the Cincinnati Pittsburgh matchup where Cincy won 24-10. Now I knew that Pittsburgh's offense wasn't that great, but I didn't think that Cincinnati would, you know, hold score 24 points on Pittsburgh as well. But they don't seem to have it going. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow ended up with even though he only had 172 yards passing, ended up with 3 TDs. Right, so you can't be mad about that. Joe Mixon just under 100 yards at 98 yards, with one reception for 4 yards as well. But Jamar Chase only had 4 receptions, but had 2 touchdowns. What's your thoughts on that? You think that's something to be expected, or you think he's gonna have those games where, you know, similar to like a Mike Evans, where he may be touchdown dependent in terms of, you know, where his points come
Nah,
from?
I mean, this is I think who was out? Uh who was it, Wiggins or Higgins or
Oh,
what's
yeah,
the
Higgins
other
was out.
wide? Yeah, he was
Yeah,
out.
Higgins was out.
So yeah, I think Chase is he coming out. He coming out. Like so every year. We got that rookie. It's either Justin Jefferson or somebody else. We got that rookie wide receiver that is looking like a veteran. And I think this year Chase is the guy. So yeah, I believe it. I believe it. What's up with Najee Harris though?
Oh yeah,
Come on. This,
man. So he
I need
actually,
to
you know,
see that
his
game. Was they just dumping it down the whole game? Like,
I'm almost mentioning to say, man, it had to be that Ben Roethlisberger was like, look, man, I just don't got it today, so I'm just gonna feed y'all the backfield. I can't even get the ball down the field because he had 59 attempts. Just think about this:
right,
Joe Burrow had 18 attempts and had 3 TDs. Ben
wow,
Roethlisberger had 59 attempts, had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions.
that's crazy.
And
Yeah, he was just dinking and
of
dunking.
those, man, listen, and of the 59 of the 39 completions that Ben had, or of the 59 attempts, Najee Harris had 19 of those and 14 receptions
Right,
with 102 yards. That's crazy. I think they
man.
said that was either the second most
Yeah,
targets
second
by
most.
running backs, you
Hmm.
know, in like 30 years or something like that.
Yeah,
That's crazy. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what to make. I know Ben is bad.
yeah.
That's one thing I
He
will say.
bad. I mean, I thought
You
this
know,
would be more of a high scoring game. Cincinnati did what I thought Cincinnati could put up points, but I don't know,
right,
maybe I keep thinking about the Ben Roethlisberger of old that, so, but I
man.
guess that
I
guy
think
is done.
you know how, you know, folks kept saying that at some point in time Tom Brady was going to fall off a cliff. I think it's happening in the
Right.
bin.
Yeah,
He may need to get
exactly.
that TB12 or whatever that died that Tom Brady on. He may need to get that in him.
Right.
That Dick Gregory something. It's not happening
Something.
for him right now. Oh man. So let's go to let's pick up on that Baltimore Detroit game, which actually ended up being a lot closer than what I expected. And you know the big thing is that came out of that game was Justin Tucker and
Mm-hmm.
setting the new record at what was it 66 yards.
Yep.
So that was that was crazy. And this dude, man, he got a leg. I can remember it was a certain point in time. If you went across the 50, you weren't even thinking about kicking a field goal.
Right. Right. I don't know what happened. So,
But so the the Ravens ended up winning 19-17, low scoring affair. Lamar Jackson, pretty much maintain what you believe his kind of like his floor would be. He had 287 yards rushing, passing, one TD and 53 yards rushing on 8 attempts. Other than that, man, it wasn't much to talk about from a Baltimore standpoint except for Mark Andrews. You remember when we talked about my DFS lineup and I had Mark Andrews at the tight end and Hawkinson at the
yeah.
flex. That was
Yep.
one thing that played out. Now, if Hawkinson would have held up his end of the bargain, I might have had something. But he ended up with
Man, did
five
you see
receptions,
that
109
game,
yards.
bro?
I didn't catch the whole game, man. Unfortunately,
Yo, Marquise
I was
Brown
trying to
dropped
watch
like
the.
3 touchdowns.
I heard, I did, I did hear that
Yeah.
he was dropping touchdowns left and right, which is crazy. They say he was almost like it was point shaving.
Right. That's what it felt like.
Mm,
It was like, yo, what are you doing?
F your fantasy team.
Right.
So on Detroit side of the ball, once again, it looks like DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams are the only folks, outside of Hawkinson, that's worth even rostering. I think one of Jose's deep sleeper pick was Quintez Cephas. He had
Doug.
one of those. He had one of those KJ Osborne type nights
Right.
days where one reception
That's
8 yards.
why Jose wasn't get on today.
Exactly, because he all in the chat.
Oh, he in the chat.
He all in the chat. I'm waiting to actually. Let's answer one of his questions. He said, "What do you think about D Waller? Was this a game? Was this game a sign of more to come?" We'll answer that when we get to the game. Hold on. So yeah, he's in the chat, and so he's definitely there. But I think he's hiding on some of those Hail Marys he was calling out. But Hawkinson, I'm disappointed in the performance, but I don't think this is indicative of where he'll be, throughout the season. I think he'll have a bounce back game here soon, but it was just one of those days, man. It wasn't in the cards for him. So let's see.
Pick 6.
All right, next week.
Jay
pick
Hurts.
6.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts. I know Jane ain't happy right now.
They every week Gene ready to fire the coach. Like Gene, you can't fire the coach every week. Yeah, he got to put some on the players. All right, so let's move through, man. Chicago Cleveland game, that was ugly. Super. What's the song Jay-Z had? Super ugly. If a game had a name, that was definitely super ugly.
Hey, I had
Justin
Kareem
Fields
Hunt.
not quite ready for prime time just yet. Hey man, listen, I think that's the one bright spot of the entire game, man, is that you had Kareem Hunt explode right and go off with 6 receptions, 74 yards, with 81 yards rushing, 1 TD, and even if you had Chubbs, he didn't have a super day, but he was glad to see he had 23 attempts and 91 yards rushing. So it wasn't like he wasn't active, in the game script at all. So man, both of the dudes ate in that game. So I'm gonna ask you 2 things. One, Kareem Hunt, any thoughts on him? And then 2, Odell Beckham came back and he ended up with 9 targets, 5 receptions, 77 yards on 9 targets. What do you think about him coming back into the fold. Especially now that Landry is still out a few more games, or expected to miss a couple more games.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's good to see him back on the field and healthy and everything. But yeah, I don't know. It just depends on how deep your league is if you got to play him or not. I I would have faded him this game just because coming back from the injury, but it's I think he'll be productive. I think Odell Beckham will move into that top 36, 36 receivers and be playable either in the flex spot or a three wide receiver league. Um, for
Right.
Hunt, yeah, I mean Hunt to me, I think he's going to be right here. I think he's going to give you a floor of about uh, 4 catches, 60 yards, every week, and a couple runs. So, but then every once in a while, they blowing somebody out. He can have a big game for you. So, definitely in that RB2 category.
Okay. The Let's see here. Next game. Let's take a look at. Oh, Justin Fields. Not only is he not quite ready for prime time, his line is terrible too. That's another takeaway. Oh man, a brutal game that I was watching instead of the Ravens game was the Washington football team. I watched them get trounced by the Buffalo Bills, and they at one time it was they were getting stomped, and I was ready to turn the game off, but then they started making a comeback, making the game close, and I thought they had it in them to to bring it back within striking distance, man, but it wasn't Heineke's day, and so he didn't play well. He had moments where it showed why he's kind of been a backup for the majority of his career in terms of it was a windy day, and you can see where some of his passes were sailing or not quite getting to the target where he wanted to. And arm strength is one of the questions that he had. He made for the most part, and then he made some bad decisions um, as well, and some crucial mistakes. But
Hmm.
the one bright spot that I saw was, or I think two bright spots, is Antonio Gibson, who ended up with, had that one reception, that big reception for 73-yard touchdown that he caught, and also Logan Thomas ended up with 5 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Although he had a crucial fumble in the game as well, and he's
See, that's
also
funny. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't see the Gibson as a bright spot just because of the touches. I mean, you talking about 12 attempts for 30 yards. Um, McKissick had 3 attempts for 23 yards. You know,
That's true. That's true. That's true.
if it wasn't for that one 73-yard touchdown reception, you'd be sitting here like, should I bench Gibson next week? So it's like,
That's
so
true.
um,
That's true. And the only reason I say is a bright spot is because we were expecting him to have home run potential, and up to this point we hadn't seen it. So at
mhm,
least with that, it showed okay, it's in him. If to do that, the question is, can he get in position to do that more often? Especially from when we talked about they comparing him to having a CMC role and getting involved in the pass game because he's not getting the targets at this point in time, and so just to have him in a position where he could have a good catch and run is something that you know was pleasant to see. I'm not sure if we can make
mhm.
it uh, kind of fantasy relevant from the standpoint of something we can expect game in and game out until we see until we see it again, or at least something has to happen from the standpoint, like you say, either the targets have to go up, right, or he has to be more efficient with the carries that he's getting
Right,
uh,
right.
for for us to have more faith in him. Logan Thomas had a decent game as well with like I said, 65 yards, one TD. Man, basically with Buffalo, Josh Allen, you know, he returned to form. He was trying to figure out whether he was the 2019 Josh Allen or the 2020 Josh Allen. Up to that point, the Washington football team definitely made him look like 2020 Josh Allen because he couldn't miss. I think at one point in time he'd only had he had gone maybe like 18 for 19 or something like that before he had started to had any real incompletes. But 350 yards passing, 4 TDs, 9 rushing yards, 1 TD, and he probably could add more. He could have more yards rushing, and he probably could add another rushing score. But he decided to throw it to his get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. They even they let Zach Moss go off with 60 on the ground, 31 in the air, TD touchdown. The out of nowhere, my question, the Emmanuel Sanders, which is also him, came out 5 receptions, 94 yards, 2 TDs. The Washington football team made him look like Emmanuel Sanders of old,
Yeah.
and he couldn't be covered deep.
Yeah, I mean, if you had him in your lineup, good for you. I can't, I don't see Emmanuel Sanders being a consistent play every week, so but yeah, eventually, Diggs gonna have to be back in the mix. I think Gabriel, you got Cole Beasley, Croft. It's again, it's almost like that Kyler Murray situation. Um, Diggs is the only one I'm really dependent on in that offense as a pass catcher, and then Cole Beasley, maybe Cole Beasley too. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to catch those Emmanuel Sanders 2 touchdown games. But if you did, good for
Right,
you.
right. The Stephon Diggs, man, he continues to get double-digit targets, and just right now they're not going for a whole lot from a yardage standpoint. 6 receptions on 62 yards. And so I definitely think that's probably his floor. But I'm waiting to see that explosive game out of him, like he was having last year. And I'm not sure if that was just from the fact that it wasn't much outside of him and Cole Beasley from a receiving standpoint last year, but we just haven't seen that super breakout game. Dawson Knox had a good game before for 49, so he moved himself into that talk about tight end one category as well with 49 yards and 1 TD also. So, look, even with Zach Moss having a great game, I'm still hesitant to touch any Buffalo running back until I see more. Uh, let's go to Miami, Las Vegas, and we had the Jacoby Brissett led Miami Dolphins. Uh, they end up actually losing 31-28, a lot closer than most people probably expected. However, thinking about where Miami was last year, they were expected to be competitive this year. It just hasn't, you know, turned out that way just yet for them. But Jacoby said there, he actually had a decent game where he was saved by 37 yards rushing that he had with the 1 TD. Other than that, Jalen Waddle had 12 receptions, 58 yards on 13 targets. And was that who they was talking about when he mentioned Waddle? I can't remember. I can't remember. He said, "Let me see."
I don't think so.
No, he was talking about D. Okay, he was talking about Waller. Okay, the Will Fuller came back. Had 6 targets for 3 receptions, 20 yards. Nothing really to see there. Mike Gesicki, tight end, 10 receptions, 86 yards on 12 targets. So that's interesting. And I'm not surprised considering who's their quarterback for them, and that he doesn't really push the ball downfield. So if Jacoby Brissett's going to be there, I think Mike Gesicki's prospects of his numbers may be inflated during that time or go up during the time that Brissett is there. You got anything to say about Miami singing at all? Anybody from Miami catch out? Anything of note?
Nah, I did want to talk about Barber though. Is he the free agent of the week?
I think you probably have to consider him to be at least one of the top waiver ads. And right now he came in. I thought he was going to be, get more of the goal line carries, but basically they put him in as like the Josh Jacobs replacement,
Yeah,
just to kind
yeah.
of get there and be that bruising back that Josh Jacobs was. And so it worked
And
out to
he
the
did it
tune
too. 23 attempts,
of,
111. So
yeah, and still got five targets. So ended up with 3 receptions, 31 yards. So he definitely had himself a day. Um, Renfro ended up with 77 in a TD. Henry Ruggs as well ended up with 4 receptions, 78 yards. So the receivers are eating. With Derek Carr at the helm, who had 386 yards with 2 TDs. And I think right now, let's see, who is Derek Carr? Right now he's at number 10 um, in the rankings for QBs for this, so far this week. So and he'll probably end up there unless something happens tonight that knocks him out. But the
mhm.
let's see anybody else. So receivers eating. Peyton Barber definitely is one of the top waiver ads for the week. Especially given the current state of Josh Jacobs. So next up, Seattle, Minnesota. I definitely didn't see this game being. Well, I thought it'd be more points scored. I didn't see Minnesota winning 30-17. Um, but sometimes Seattle had these games where
They
inexplicably
do
out of
have these
nowhere.
games. You just be
Because
confused. Like,
man,
what happened?
Minnesota been giving points away, giving points away, and I'm thinking, man, with Seattle coming to town, this is going to be at the very least a shootout, and it just didn't play out that way. DK Metcalf for Seattle, definitely had a game. Tyler Lockett pretty much had one of those games where he disappears every so often, or not. I won't say disappear, but just not as involved.
Yeah, he
And
has these. It's always been like that, boom or bust with
right,
him. So
yeah, and Russell Wilson, admirable performance, and I think he ended up right now. He is at where is he at? He's not even in the top 20. So as far as points on the weekend. So right now the only bright spot for this game was DK Metcalf. Jordan Everett did have 5 receptions, 54 yards in the game as well, which puts him at tight end 15 at the moment. The Minnesota, Kirk Cousins is on the tear still. 323 yards, 3 TDs. Madison, right? If you were able to pick him up, did you? I think you picked him up, right? Did you play him?
I was surprised he was still out there because I was like, nah, ain't nobody pick up Madison. Cause I got cooked, and
Right.
I was kind of slow with the news, and I was like, oh, Madison's still out there, and he came through. Normally, last year it was a couple games where Cook was out and Madison didn't really perform, but he came through this time.
Man, big time. 59 yards receiving on 6 receptions, 112 yards on 26 attempts. And so that's what folks who had Cook. I have him in another league. Usually when you got picked up Madison, you weren't expecting it, but this game he definitely came through like you would hope. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson, 9 receptions, 118 yards, 1 TD. The Thielen still was able to get 9 targets, 6 receptions, 50 yards, 1 TD. And the only one who didn't get in on the bonanza was KJ Osborne.
Yeah, you got to
So
look at Conklin too if you in need of a tight end. Um,
yes, yes. So Tyler Conklin, 7 receptions, 70 yards with a touchdown. That's where old KJ Osborne targets went to,
yep,
I guess, huh?
exactly.
Is to Tyler Conklin. The right now he he's the top receiver on the week at the moment. So yeah, you definitely got to look at him. The I wonder how many what's his ownership rate right now. Yeah, I had to look that up. All right, so let's move on. We can go ahead and wrap this thing up. A couple more games on the slate, some big ones. Tampa Bay and the Los Angeles Rams. The man, this was the everything we thought it would be from a points production standpoint. It being a shootout. Godwin, 8 for Tampa Bay, Mike Evans came through on 11 targets. The Giovanni Bernard had, there was a Gio Bernard sighting, and I'm not sure what to make of Fournette or Jones. It just might have
Oh yeah,
been, the way the
we
game was
gotta
playing.
give props to Jose on that. He did say that
He
he
did.
was gonna have
You
a
know
lot
what?
of
He did
catches.
sneak that. He did say that. He did mention Gio Bernard, and I like Gio Bernard being in that with that offense early in the year, but it didn't look like they was really going to feature him much. But this is one of those games where he definitely got an opportunity to shine. He did get injured on one of his touchdown catches, I believe, but looked like he was expected to be okay. Gronkowski, even though he didn't go off or didn't have the TDs, he still had 8 targets and ended up with four catches, 55 yards. Now, on the Rams side, the winning side of things, and that they won 34-24. Matthew Stafford, man, 343 yards, four TDs. Cooper Cup once again didn't go over 100, man, but he had 9 receptions, and out of those 9, had 2 TDs. There was a Deshaun Jackson sighting, doing what he does best, man. That's getting open deep. Man, that dude can still run. He has to be like early 30s at this point in time, man. That dude still get it.
Still doing the
Man, what do
same
we do with
thing.
Robert Woods at this point in time? I think we said at this.
I feel like Deshaun Jackson took Robert Woods' spot. I mean, Robert Woods was the one who was getting those, like get behind the defense or like some running plays, and I don't know. It looks like it's just too many mouths to feed now. So
Yeah, look, everybody eating but Robert Woods, because Tyler Higbee ended up with 5 receptions, 40 yards plus a TD. So he distributed the ball. Michael had 4 targets. Didn't do a whole lot with it, but he still had 20 attempts. 20 rushing attempts, 67 yards. So, man, I think you're excited about everybody but Robert Woods at this point in time. I'm not sure if you can expect that from Deshaun Jackson every week in and week out, but just the fact that threat is there, I'm sure is going to open things up.
Oh yeah,
for Los Angeles going forward. So, all right, man. So we got couple more games: New Orleans and New England. All right. So, how many yards does Jameis need now for that 5,000?
4,999.
That's probably conservative.
Right.
Alvin Kamara does what he does best: 89 yards rushing, 29 yards receiving, with a touchdown catch. Marquez Callaway had 4 receptions, 41 yards, and TD. I'm not sure, if you can count on that week in and week out, but it's something that's there. Man, Mac Jones. I thought that New England would make Jameis Winston look bad, and he didn't look great, but he ended up with 128 and 2 TDs. But Mac Jones looked really bad. Made he how they say rookie's going rookie. He ended up with 3 interceptions on the day, and that's his bright spot is supposed. His greatest attribute is supposed to be how accurate he is, and so he had 275, 1 TD, three picks. And there was not really much else to talk about from New England standpoint, except for Jacoby Myers, on 9 receptions, put up 94 yards receiving. Nelson Aguilar, had 9 targets and only caught 2, which is crazy, for 17 yards. So, yeah, I'm not sure if there's any bright spot, anything you can take away other than the fact that Jacoby Myers may have, basically submitted what his floor is going to be for the year, right around that 9 to 10 point range. And if he explodes, he may give you 15, 16 points if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if Mac Jones is going to continue to turn the ball over like that, the chance of that happening is slim to none. But let's see. Let's get to it. Green Bay, San Fran. This ended up being. I didn't think this game would have as many points between both teams. Man, listen, the Aaron Rodgers 261, 2 TDs. Aaron Jones 82 yards on the ground, 14 receptions, or 14 yards receiving. And Devontae Adams once again has another monster game.
Man, I
I'm not
got a
sure.
question, man. Oh, good.
No, you go ahead.
What happened to the concussion protocol? Is that just because that used to be a thing? Now it's just like they're like, oh, he going to concussion protocol. He got to go through the whole thing and see if he can play next week. I was like, yo, he's out. He's out. Did you see the game?
Yeah. No, I see the game that like I think they like, look, man.
We
Uh,
can't have COVID protocol and
right.
concussion
No,
protocol. We can't have two.
we can't
We ain't
have
gonna
both
have
of
no
them going at the same
players.
time. Right. Right. It's like y'all want these numbers to go up or what? Yeah.
Right.
This a prime time game. We need our players out here. So then I was interested. I'm surprised it did. Usually, man, and it was a point in time where if something like that happened, they was instantly you walked them off the field and you didn't
Yeah.
know if they was coming back or not.
Right. It was
You
like they had to fake like they wasn't knocked out. And I'm like,
right.
yo, he's knocked out. His eyes is open
You
and
had to
he's
give them
not moving.
the Boston dream. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I can still go.
Right.
The so yeah, man. I'm. It's just
Yeah, what you
surprising,
think
man.
about Check? You think he can actually make his way in somebody lineup the way they're using him?
Yeah, if he's going to get the targets, and I think I like to see him get just a few more touches out of the backfield. But if he's going to be involved in the pass game, he may be a deep lead flex play that you can look at as well. Trey Sermon, he didn't really like the world on fire. He had 10 attempts for 31 yards, 1 TD. So look, this will be the one game that Brandon Ayuk, his double digits with his 5 receptions,
Right. You've been
48
talking
yards.
about him for a minute.
Man, after I set him on the waiver free agent list, a week ago. This dude, man. Well, the bright spot, another bright spot though, is my boy George Kittle, who I got in 2 leagues.
Oh yes.
Finally showed up for me. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 92 yards receiving. Now I just need him to get some TDs. If we can get that going, life would be good from that standpoint. There was a Trey Lance sighting, and he did what he was supposed to do. That one play, design rush, one attempt, 1 yard, 1 TD, and so I'm not sure what you can make of that at this point in time. But if he does get some use, I know a lot of people have been stashing him, thinking that Garoppolo was going to lose the job at a certain point in time. So
Garoppolo
that
did his
remains to
thing
be seen.
yesterday.
I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Right, I don't see it happening. It's just this season if he continues to play like he's been playing. So yeah, man, I think that's it. Of all the games right now, looking at the Philly Dallas game, Zeke Elliott is definitely getting off with 73 yards. And where we at right now? We are in the third quarter, 7 minutes left. Zeke is at 78 yards, 2 TDs, 3 receptions, 21 yards. Man, Tony Pollard, 10 attempts. So he's getting the rushing attempt, 56 yards. So not bad, but it looks like Zeke is having himself a game here. None of the Dallas receivers are doing much. I think right now the lead in the clubhouse is Amari Cooper with two receptions. CeeDee Lamb has one with a 44-yard on that. Dalton Schultz, which you never can tell if Gene being a homer or he being being
He's a
legit.
homer.
But he said Dalton Schultz may be somebody. He's definitely a homer. So we're not gonna let him get away with that. But he did call Dalton Schultz being a potential tight end stash this season. So Jalen Hurts right now, 2 turnovers, does have 30 yards rushing. Right, we always say that his floor is going to be pretty consistent based on the rushing yards. Man, Miles Sanders does not look good at the moment. 2 attempts, 27 yards. He does have 3 receptions for 28 yards. Kendall Gainwell got 1 receiving target. So right now, the only folks that are doing things is the tight ends, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. Both have 2 receptions. Goddard has 66 yards, but Zach Ertz has the one long TD, passing TD that he caught from Jalen Hurts. So it's interesting. Looks like Dallas is pretty much in control of this game right at the moment, up 2 scores. And so we'll see how it plays out. And we'll talk about it on our next show. But look, man, let's get into, the folks want to know at this point in time. We've seen some folks, continue to do do what we expect him to do and disappoint. And then there's some folks who look nice after this week. Who are some of your top waiver ads that you got right now? Anybody that you eyeing up or folks you targeting?
Yeah. So I mentioned Barber earlier. You know, anytime a running back go off, you gotta and can help your team because it's not a whole lot of them. You see somebody getting the running back getting 20 touches, you got to take a look at them. So um, definitely, check him out. Um, that's all I can think of right now. Um,
I'm gonna throw a couple of names out at you. So uh, Chuba Hubbard, right? Looks like McCaffrey's gonna be miss a few weeks right now. In most leagues, they got him at about 25% roster. So I definitely think that he may be a guy. Not sure, if he can fill in that role, but he had 11. He rushed 11 times, like 52 yards, and caught 3 or 5 targets on Thursday night over the Texans. So definitely think he should be a target for you, your week, especially if you are a McCaffrey CMC owner. But even if not, it may just be an opportunity to diminish one of your opponent's rosters for the next few weeks. The what do you think about Emmanuel Sanders? You think that he's worth picking up after that performance against the Washington football team?
yeah, like I said, it all depends on who you got. I mean, if you got the space, you could definitely put him in as a streamer. Um, but I mean, you never know. I can't, you know, it's only one game, so of course we don't want to overreact
Right,
and try to start him next week. But yeah, definitely, worth a stash if you got the space on your roster.
right. I think right now he hasn't lit the world on fire other than when he played Washington. He's 6 receptions on 14 targets and 100 yards, and the majority of that came last week. The week before that, though, he's only played 2 games. The week before that was against Miami, where they were firmly controlling the game and didn't have to throw a lot. And let me throw another name out. We talked about Elijah Moore before, but I don't see anybody on the New York Jets really exciting me at all. Another Buffalo Bill player, Dawson Knox. What do you think about Dawson at this point in time?
Oh yeah, I mean Knox, I think he got 2 touchdowns in 2 games. Definitely a streamer, definitely somebody to take a look at if you need help in the tight end. Like if you had Kyle Pitts and you want to put Kyle Pitts on the bench, I would definitely look at somebody like a Knox.
Right. I think we talked about Sam Donald being a potential waiver ad or streamer. Depending on if you are in a super flex league or where you can play 2 quarterbacks. Um, he had a pretty impressive performance this past weekend, and so the it's surprising. Like he's been pretty consistent right now. He's at let me see, he is at QB rating of 100 and has 584 yards passing, 68% completion, 68.5% completion rate, 3 TDs, one INT. So I definitely think he's viable in deeper leagues. So especially on buys, or like I said, if you have a deep league or able to play 2 quarterbacks. Let me see, check the chat again, see if there's any other. Let's see. Jose mentioned, what about Hooper? Uh, from that standpoint, I'm not sure what he means about Hooper. I don't.
He got a touchdown.
But I would think that at this point in time, I figure he'd probably be pretty well rostered for the most part. Let me see. Not seeing what his numbers are. But if he's out there, he's another streamer as well. Let's see. Yeah, definitely another stream as well. Like I said, with Landry being out and Odell Beckham being coming back, I definitely think it should open some things up for him a bit as well. The I think if anybody, bro, what do you think about we call two names out? Terrence Marshall, wide receiver for Carolina. The Robbie Anderson's snaps are decreasing. He's not really doing much at the moment, or uh, where DJ Moore is pretty much getting the bulk of the targets, but he's playing. But Terrence Marshall is playing more snaps, and then the other name would be. No, I'm gonna stay with that. What do you think about Terrence Marshall?
Yeah, I mean,
Any
nah, he's
thoughts
not
around
doing
him?
nothing right now. I mean, you can't play him right now. I mean, you know, it's too many. Well, you got to see how they're gonna look. But I just don't. I'm not playing him. I don't even know if he's rosterable. If you should even roster him at this point.
I got a question for
Uh,
you, and this is probably even a more important question. Robbie Anderson, what do you do with him?
well, we see what Robbie Anderson has done in the past. Right now, obviously, uh, Moore and Darnold has a connection. Um, so I just don't know if it's enough mouths to feed, but I think Robbie Anderson is more in line than Terrence Marshall is. Uh, so yeah, I'm staying away from both of those guys right now.
Okay, no, I tend to agree with you for the most part. Let me see, trying to think of anybody. Should we be concerned about Rondale Moore after this most recent performance?
From Arizona.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, he gonna have those games. He's not the only most consistent person is going to be Hopkins. But it's just a lot of mouths to feed over in Arizona. So it's not. It's going to be one of those things where you got to try to pick out the game he gonna go off. So I don't think it's going to be
Right.
something consistent for week after week.
Okay. Well, look, man, that's another one in the books. Week 4 be upon us tomorrow, and definitely continue to follow us, like us, share us, subscribe, or anywhere you get us, listen to us on the podcast, rate us, man, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Say something about us, get us out there at ITP underscore FFL underscore podcast on Twitter, and in the pocket FFL podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and um, another streaming platforms as well. So on that note, man, take us back out in the put us back in the pocket.